Welcome back everyone. This is a Pokemon fanfic, Legacy of Red, by Sucker. Chapter 2, Route 25. It was almost morning when Bill took a break from programming. He knew what still needed to be done. Bill wanted to make everything perfect for Michael's big journey. First, he went downstairs to his main PC storage system server and accessed the starter Pokemon files. There, he looked up the original 3 starters, Bulbasaur, Charmander and Squirtle. These were the same Pokemon Professor Oak usually asks him to deliver to give to the new promising trainers from Pallet Town. He went through all the starter Pokemon stats to find the best possible individuals to give to Michael. One of the Charmanders had a rare yellowish color. Bill agreed its stats were alright and chose it as the Charmander he would offer Michael. He then picked Bulbasaur and Squirtle randomly from the candidates. After he was happy with the 3 starters, he went to the Lighthouse Secrets Research Lab with a Pokédex and did some modifications. Everything had to be perfect. Secretly, Bill had been suffering a bad conscience for depriving Michael the adventurous childhood that kids had usually these days. It was customary habit in Kanto and Johto regions to have children of the age 10 to 11 to leave for a Pokemon journey. It was something of a way to grow up. Usually trainers didn't go very far, they stayed close to their parents and trained against local Pokemon. However, some wanted to become professional and compete in the Pokemon League. These trainers would travel far across the land, searching far and wide. They would catch as many Pokemon as they could, training them to become powerful and battling against each other. Michael had been such a promising programmer that Bill didn't want him to leave, and they had managed to do a lot of good things together. However, now that Michael would finally go on his journey, Bill didn't want to mess it up. He erased the Pokédex from all of its 200 entries. When Bill finally finished the additional modifications to Michael's new Pokédex, the morning had already broken. Michael opened his eyes with a big yawn to realize the sun was already at zenith. He quickly woke up and Umbreon and him together they rushed the stairs down to the main hall. There was a desk with 3 Pokeballs waiting for him. Upon seeing this, Michael could have sworn he had a flock of butterfrees in his stomach, but there was no Bill. Michael called for him, but the voice that answered was not his. Professor Oak walked in in his white lab coat.
Hello there, Michael. Bill asked me to do this little favor for him, so here we go.
My name is Professor Oak. People call me the Pokemon Professor. This world is inhabited by creatures called Pokemon. For some people, Pokemon are pets. Others use them for fights. Myself, I study Pokemon as a profession. My grandson, what is his name again? That's right, I remember now. My grandson Gary Oak is your friend, I believe. I'm so proud of him being the Viridian City gym leader and everything. And my granddaughter, have you heard about her? Well, nevertheless, your very own Pokemon legend is about to unfold. A world of dreams and adventures with Pokemon awaits. Let's go! For being the official speech Professor Oak keeps for every new trainer, it didn't seem very well rehearsed. Michael wondered if Oak forgets his grandson's name every time he keeps the speech and how Gary must feel about it. It's amazing how a well-known star Pokemon researcher who has his own talk show on radio can forget such trivial matters. Professor Oak cleared his throat and continued speaking. Here are 3 Pokemon. The grass Pokemon Bulbasaur, the fire Pokemon Charmander and the water Pokemon Squirtle. You can only choose one of them. Michael looked at Umbreon and she looked back at him. Oak said, But Michael, it seems you already have a Pokemon with you. Oh, Umbreon is not my Pokemon. She's my friend. She hasn't been captured by a Pokeball and she's free to go whenever she wants.
Oh, in that case, but remember, if you battle with her, she will count as your party Pokemon, and you are only allowed to carry 6 at a time.
Having programmed the PC storage system for 4 years now, Michael trusted he knew better than Professor Oak why that was so.
Even if your Umbreon doesn't have a Pokeball, she will count as your party Pokemon. There is a trainer from my hometown who has his Pikachu follow him around everywhere outside his Pokeball. He battles with it, but he's sort of a special case, so I don't suggest you follow his example.
Michael had no such plans. Ash Ketchum wasn't really the kind of person you would want to follow. He most certainly didn't use his brain in decision making, so it had always been a mystery for Michael how he managed to do so well. The old professor and Michael shared some more thoughts, but then Michael couldn't wait any longer. He took a step forward and grabbed the ball Oak said to be the fire Pokemon Charmander. Bill, who was observing the situation from the shadows in his Kabuto costume, smiled at this. Michael ceremoniously raised the Pokeball up and shouted loud and joyful, "All right!" After receiving the Pokédex from Professor Oak and saying goodbyes to Bill, Michael went outside. He checked his Pokédex to notice Bill had left Umbreon's data on it. Michael smiled at this, and threw the Pokeball he had just received to examine his Charmander. The Charmander's data appeared on the Pokédex. There was an immediate connection between the trainer and his new first Pokemon. Michael had seen many Charmanders during his lifetime, but never an individual with such bright yellow color. Professor Oak sure knows what he's doing when handing out these starters to new trainers. Charmander is a good example. Powerful, yet it immediately forms a very strong bond with its trainer. Michael began to wonder what it would be like to start an adventure like this with a stubborn Pokemon like a Pikachu. Suddenly he realized why Ash Ketchum appears a little random. After getting a good final glimpse of his home of many years, Michael walked away from the lighthouse towards Route 25. He had been living in the area long enough to know the way to his hometown, Cerulean City, but after he had no clue what to do. Michael reckoned he would have to buy a town map once he gets to Cerulean City, but that was no problem. Thanks to working for Bill for 4 years, he was literally a billionaire. Of course, he wouldn't be telling this to anyone. After all, he didn't want to have an organization like Team Rocket develop an interest for him. Some branches of the organization had used Bill's PC storage system, and Michael had seen the floods of super rare Pokemon transferring from region to another. He and Bill let the Rockets use the service because they paid top dollar for it. Team Rocket was actually the main reason he and Bill were billionaires. And because this had allowed them to spy on Team Rocket's Pokemon transfers and give some useful information to all the officer Jennies out there. But after the Rocket grunts, Jesse and James had unreasonably driven Bill's lifelong dream, the Gargantuan Pokemon, away, Bill had gotten unbelievably mad. Michael had never seen Bill so angry. That night, Bill personally hijacked every single Pokemon Team Rocket was transferring and moved them all to the Pokemon chilling area near Pokemon Professor Oak's lab. Bill even managed to pin the disappeared Pokemon on someone else's shoulders. If I recall correctly, the organization the Rockets blamed for the disaster was called Team Flare, some random team in a land far, far away. Well, Michael and Umbreon walked on Route 25, avoiding the tall grass. Michael had decided he would first buy a bike, Pokeballs and some medicine from Cerulean City, and only after that would he start leveling up his Charmander and catching up Pokemon. As Michael hopped down ledges, he saw some Nidorans eating grass, but let them be where they were. Dark clouds that seemed to be forming on the sky above seemed to dissolve. Michael's heart was pounding. No programming had ever been this exciting.